Good afternoon, everybody. Christine Varconi and Justin Hobrock here in the NBC4i Streaming Center after Ohio State walloped Nebraska 52-17. Justin, your score prediction was better than mine.
Close, 52-10, so almost.
Yeah, so almost spot on. What did you think? What did you think of the game?
Let's start with the Heisman favorite, Justin Fields. I mean, he's one of the best, if not the best, quarterbacks in the country for a reason. He went 20 for 21 passing, 276 yards. He completed his first 11 passes. That's a career best for him. He had more than 50 yards rushing, had a rushing touchdown, 2 passing touchdowns. We can go on and on, but he's one of the best players in the country for a reason. And man, the offense looks so good. Garrett Wilson had a career-high day, 7 catches for 129 yards. The rushing attack left a little bit to be desired, but maybe not so surprising because it just takes a while to build up when you're the offensive line and you're blocking for your running backs who are a little bit newer. Master Teague comes back to the program, but it's going to take a little bit to get that running attack down. But, man, they picked apart Nebraska in the secondary all game long, and the defense responded well. They gave up that first touchdown drive, 4-play, 75 yards in less than 2 minutes. They gave up another one in the second quarter, but after that, they settled in, and they actually outscored Nebraska's offense. OSU's defense scored 7 in the second half. Nebraska only scored 3 in that second half, so pretty impressive to come back. Those guys that are new, they learned from that first half, and they responded in a big way.
Nebraska did score first, though. What did you think of that?
Yeah, a little surprising. I think, but coming into this first game, you don't have any game experience. You've been playing yourself for the most part. I think it was not surprising that it took a little bit to get their foot in the door, especially with a newer defense than what they had last year. There's guys that were, didn't really have any game experience coming into this, and if they did, they had very little. They have a senior linebacking core. They've got a pretty good secondary, some guys returning, but it's going to take a little bit for that unit to mesh, and they finally did in the second half.
So coming up here in a few minutes, Ohio State head coach Ryan Day will be speaking. Do you think he'll be speaking a lot about that? A lot of the reporter questions will be centering around that, most likely.
I think a little bit's going to be about how he thought the defense responded, and also maybe a little concern about the rushing game. You had no running back rush for more than 50 yards. Justin Fields actually led Ohio State in rushing today. A little surprising because coming into the season, they said, we want to limit the amount of times that he has to run the ball just because that puts him more at risk of getting injured. And obviously you don't want that to happen at Ohio State. So I think one of the things is, rushing attack, where can you improve on? Defense, how can you start out a little bit quicker? Other than that, you're getting kind of you're nitpicking things because a 52-17 win in a season opener in a very strange year is very impressive.
Certainly something that, in my opinion, could be nitpicks perhaps is both sides of the team, the tackling issues kind of. We saw a lot of referee timeouts, official timeouts to take a look at some of the tackling tactics. Can you talk a little bit more about that? We did have a couple targeting calls in this game.
All in Nebraska, yeah. I think the big thing is, Jared said it earlier in the week, and so did Coach Conley, it was going to be one of those things where you don't have any experience coming into a game like this for tackling. It takes time to get used to that and to perfect that part of the game because it can be sloppy at the beginning. And the one thing that impressed me was Ohio State didn't commit that many penalties. They did a good job of limiting those. So the things that you expect to see in a first game or two is a lot of penalties and a lot of missed tackles. Nebraska had more of both of those. Ohio State struggled with tackling early on, hence giving up 14 points. It was a little worrisome when it was tied at 14, but after that, they settled in. The senior guys took over. Jonathan Cooper forced a fumble. Sevin Banks returned one for a touchdown. You had another fumble recovery by Josh Proctor. Dallas Gant forced that fumble. I mean, we could go on, but the defense, after starting shaky, they improved, and I think they're going to be fine the rest of the way.
What time does Penn State play? Have we ever had a chance to take a look at how they're playing today? Because looking forward, I feel like that's the next big thing. Are we ready for Penn State? Is Penn State ready for us?
I think it's going to be good to see how they do against Indiana. They're only a 6-point favorite coming into this. Ohio State was a 27-point favorite. Indiana, not a great team, not a bad team. So I don't know how much that says about Penn State versus Indiana, but we'll see. Ohio State has essentially a week to prepare for what might be their biggest game of the season when they go on the road at Happy Valley, play Penn State at 7:30 on Halloween. So going to be a very interesting game and probably the biggest game of the year, including the Michigan game, because Penn State, let's be honest, is just better than the Wolverines this year.
Yeah, something we were talking about a little bit, speaking of other games, was the Clemson game, and Syracuse was creeping up on them a little bit there. Didn't come through with it, but you had mentioned how vital this is, with the conferences only playing each other this year. Had they lost, you had mentioned they would probably be out of playoff contention.
I think so, because the ACC is not as good as the Big Ten, and it's not as good as the SEC. So if you have a one-loss team like Georgia, because they lost to Alabama last week, then you probably have Alabama, Georgia in the playoff, and you have, let's say, an undefeated Ohio State. They get in the playoff, and then do you put like a one-loss Penn State over a one-loss Clemson? I say yes, because the Big Ten is better. Penn State's loss, if it happens to Ohio State, would be a better loss than, say, Clemson losing to a Syracuse, who has no business beating Clemson this year. So it'll be interesting to see. That's why every game is so important, especially in the Big Ten, because you're only playing 8 of them. But I want to get your reaction first, just how it was seeing a mostly empty stadium except for the cardboard cutouts.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird. The crowd noise was weird.
Yeah.
I mean, it just kind of sounded like canned noise, of course, because, you expected a home game when calls don't go the way that the home team would want. You didn't hear the booing. It was kind of just like the...
some of those targetings, you would have heard an uprising.
Yeah, certainly. It was weird. I mean, put it in the weird jar. I don't the weird jar for charity or for pizza or whatever we decide to do with it, if we even do one. I mean, it was good to see. Nice to see some of those players' families in there from both the Ohio State and the Nebraska side. So that was really nice to see. But Jared was kind of showing us around the field during our pregame show and just showing us absolutely nothing. I liked your reference if you guys were seeing the end zone. So what would be my directions here, the north end zone for Block L, the eyes of Brutus. I thought that was cool. Justin, what you had a good one about that. What did you say?
Yeah, you compare it to the eyes of the Great Gatsby, where no matter where you're at in the horseshoe, they're always upon you. So very eerie when you see a wide shot of the stadium and you just see 2 big Brutus eyes looking out at you.
It's kind of funny.
That was my big takeaway.
Yeah, I saw he was watching on Instagram.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, that was good. What else? I was going to say, you had a really good story take off today, and people had some really nice things to say about it, about Haskell Garrett.
Yeah, incredible story. So, I mean, this young man trying to break up a fight back on August 30th, he got shot in the face, went through his cheek. He got released from the hospital the next day. The team didn't know if he was going to even play this year.
All right, Justin, I want to interrupt you here just because looks like we are starting with Justin Fields. Press conference time, guys.
Good deal.
Like this.
It was definitely weird, I was looking up to the stands to celebrate with some friends, but nobody was really out there. So of course it was a little bit, different, but we just try to bring our own energy to the game. So I mean, it was definitely different, but I think we handled it well.
All righty, next up is Nathan Baird from Cleveland.com. Nathan.
Justin, as a team, did you expect to run the ball better than you did today? And from your vantage point, what wasn't working there? What needs to be better going into next week?
I'm not sure about the little things in the run game, but that's what the film's for. And we really just didn't really have to, we didn't come into this game with expectations. We just wanted to go out there, play hard, and just play our game. And really our main goal is a win. And so that's what we got. So we're just happy with that.
Ready, next up, Bill Landis from The Athletic. Bill.
Justin, did you think that Jackson got his foot down on that touchdown catch, like live? What was your first impression when you saw that catch?
I didn't see it, actually. After I threw it, I got hit pretty hard. So I was just hoping that he caught it and got in. But I had no idea, if he got his foot down or not. So, yeah.
All righty, next up, Rob Aller from the Columbus Dispatch. Rob.
Hey, Justin. How was the contact? I mean, I know you guys had sort of a shorter situation there to get ready for it. How was it when it was?
How was the contact? Like,
getting hit. Yeah, you guys weren't able to prepare as much.
Yeah, I mean, quarterbacks, we really don't get hit at all in practice, but I mean, that just comes with it. Of course, getting hit in the game, that's the game of football. So, of course, I'm definitely going to be sore tomorrow, but that's what we have the training room for and treatment for. So I'll be good.
All righty, we'll go next to Dan Hope from 11 Warriors. Dan.
Hey, Justin, seemed like, you and Garrett Wilson were really in a good rhythm today. Just what do you think makes that slot receiver position such a good fit for him?
Garrett's just a great receiver all around, and I think him being in the slot, him being able to work outside and, inside, and him be able to go different directions, I think that just makes him more dynamic. So just him being in that slot definitely makes our team better, and he's definitely a great receiver.
All righty, next, Adam Rittenberg from ESPN. Adam. All right, no, Adam, we'll go to Kyle Rowland from the Toledo Blade. Kyle.
Hey, Justin, I'm curious, did you find it easier to perform today just with so much silence in the stadium and just, I don't know, not breaking your concentration or anything like that?
I wouldn't say easier, but there's definitely a sense of calmness around us. So I think that made it easier for the offense to communicate with each other and, just get, calls out, IDs out in the protection. So I just think it made it easier to communicate out there.
All righty, we'll go back to Adam Rittenberg from ESPN. Adam.
Hey, Justin, how good can you guys be, especially with this young receiving core in the passing game this year after this first game?
I think we can be really good. And, of course, I said earlier that we have a lot of stuff to work on. So we're just going to go look at the film and, just see what we have to fix out there. But, I mean, I think we can be a great team offensively and defensively. But, we just have to get back out there. And like I said, it's the first game of the season. So, we still have a lot of work to do. But I think we can be really good.
All right, we'll go next to Joey Kaufman from the Columbus Dispatch. Joey.
Justin, you ran 14 times or 15 times today, I think, which is a little more than you ran last year. Was that something that just happened in the course of a game, or have you talked about running more a little bit this year?
Nah, it just happens, I just get the calls and run the plays. I wasn't thinking about running. I was just trying to, just go out there and compete.
All righty, got time for a couple more. We'll go to Clay Hall from WSYX. Clay.
Justin, strong finish to the first half, and then you dominated the third. What do you think? Where did the game turn? Was it the Seven Banks return to seal it, or when did you feel like you had the upper hand?
I think when we came out that first drive of the second half and scored, I think that's when we started getting more momentum. First half was a little bit slow, but I think when we came out the second half and got that first drive going and scored that touchdown, I think that's when we started, to get going.
Thank you.
All righty, and we'll wrap Justin up with Doug Limerice from Cleveland.com. Doug.
Justin, are you better than last year? And if so, how? You personally?
I mean, I hope so, but yeah, I think I'm better, from last year to this year. That's what the off season's for. That's what we're practicing is for. But I think I'm better in all aspects, throwing the ball, running the ball, and just knowing the offense and kind of knowing what the defense is doing. So, but I still have room to improve, and, that's what I'm going to do from week to week.
Thank you.
All right, Justin, thank you very much. Appreciate your time today. Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, those are the comments of Justin Fields. I suspect we're going to have Ryan Day in just a moment. Real quick, the difference between a reporter and former players and coaches. I had no problem with Doug Limerice asking, hey,
just
Justin,
a reminder to go on mute if you're not on mute.
Now, and you both shook your head.
Reporters talking over the press conference right now. Oh, Zoom's fun, isn't it?
Great. It's great.
They're in the middle of a live broadcast. We're in the middle of a live broadcast. So I'm so glad we have it on mute right now. Oh my gosh. Are you hearing this?
Yes.
I'm turning red. Anyway, Justin, tell us about the story that you wrote up for about Haskell Garrett and this amazing recovery that he has had in these past 8 weeks.
Yeah, so Haskell, a senior defensive tackle at Ohio State, in August 30th, he got shot in the face, actually. It went through his cheeks, and he was released the next day, but the team didn't know if he was even going to play this season. And then yesterday they announced that he was going to be available for the game. We didn't know if that actually meant he was going to play in the game. And then he did, in fact, play, and he actually recorded the very first sack on the season for Ohio State. So just a very special moment for a young man who's gone through a lot in the past 8 weeks. Very, very cool.
Yeah, really cool. I know Coach Ryan Day is probably going to get some questions about him, and he's talked about him in the past, just like his willpower is just really incredible. We were there. He wasn't in the hospital for a couple days, and it's just really amazing what this young man has been able to do.
Yeah, it honestly is. And more than that, he's one of the best players Ohio State has on defense. Defensive tackle, they're a very young group without him. And being there, being a presence, someone that played a lot last year, they need a guy like that. And, he's going to be an NFL caliber player. And they're very strong at defensive end. 4 guys coming back that had a lot of playing time last year. Defensive tackle, not so much. So we were really curious about that position. And I guess you don't need to be anymore because Haskell Garrett is back in a big way.
What are some other questions that were up in the air that got answered today, you think?
How would Ohio State's defense mesh? It's a new unit. A lot of the guys, some had been there for a while, some had not. You didn't know what they were going to look like early on. Like I mentioned, it didn't look great. 4 plays, 75 yards in less than 2 minutes for Nebraska, and they were up 17-0. It looked like they had it figured out after a couple stops, but then Nebraska scores again, and they tie the game at 14, and Ohio State fans may be biting their nails a little bit. But after that, they really settled in. They zoned in on wrapping up on tackles, playing their scheme, doing what they're supposed to do. I think a lot of young guys grew up very fast in one half of football, and that message was probably relayed from Carrie Combs, their defensive coordinator, a guy who is fiery to say the least, and he probably lit a fire under them after that first half.
Yeah, certainly a lot of colorful messages coming from him a lot of the time. It's nice to have him back. I think
heavily
it's fun.
caffeinated.
Yes. Justin, so for all of you out there who are just joining us right now, we just heard Justin Fields give his post-game press conference, and right now we are waiting for Ryan Day to kind of, I would say step up to the podium, but step into the Zoom call. That's the proper way to do it. So we're just kind of sitting and waiting for Ryan Day at this point. Justin, let's recap kind of what Justin Fields had to say. Some good questions for him. He had a great game.
Yeah, it's hard to dissect after coming off the field right away and assessing how your team played. Obviously, he played great. Like I said, 276 yards passing, 20 completions, only 1 incompletion. He was asked, do you think you're better than last year? He said, I hope so. It's hard to tell 1 game into the season, but from the looks of it, he looks stronger. He's running harder. He's not missing. His 1 incompletion was, a drop ball by Chris Olave in the end zone. It was going to be hard to come up with because he hit the ground pretty hard. But, if you can play a perfect game, that's what a perfect game looks like.
That was a rough tackle. I did not like seeing that.
Yeah,
that was not good.
But early takeaways. You look at Wisconsin; they have Graham Mertz. He also went 20 for 21 passing, had 5 touchdowns yesterday through the air. So they had the exact same numbers. Graham had a few, 248 yards passing. Justin a little bit more. It looks like these two teams once again are on a collision course to play in the Big Ten championship, unless Penn State has something to say about that, and Minnesota as well. Very interesting to see how Minnesota does against Michigan tonight at 7:30.
It definitely will be. And Penn State, you mentioned, plays at 3 o'clock against Indiana.
Yeah, 3:30 games.
Oh, 3:30. So they'll probably kicked off or kicking off.
Just kicking off now. So we'll see how Penn State does in their very first game. I wouldn't be surprised if they have an equal start to their game where, it's a little competitive in the first and second quarter, and then Penn State goes from there.
All right. Looks like head coach Ryan Day will be taking the podium right now.
And I thought that, they kind of had us reeling a little bit early on, and give credit to our defensive staff and players being able to adjust. And, really by the end of the second half or the end of the first half and then into the second half, I thought they made really good adjustments and played really good football. On the offensive side of the ball, we still left some things on the field, but overall, I thought we made big plays. I thought Justin played well. He didn't force anything. Did a good job with his feet. Was accurate, and I think the only incompletion he had, someone told me, was just on the post to Chris. So we had a couple of sacks in there that maybe we can throw the ball away. But the good news overall is that we have a chance to now we have something to work on, and so now we got to get on the film and get better. I will say this, I just want to say it publicly, and I'm going to text Scott. At the end of the game there, if I could do that again, I would have taken a knee. I feel bad about that at the end of the game. I had a younger quarterback in the game, and I didn't feel like we had the personnel. And we had a couple sacks, and I probably should have done that. So I just want to publicly, apologize for that to Scott. But overall, it was a good day, and I'm really proud of the way the guys played for the first game.
All righty, we'll open up the questioning with Austin Ward from Letterman Row. Austin.
For the program, that sometimes a first half like that angers you guys, or you feel like you could do so much better. Then you look at the scoreboard at the end of the game, it's a blowout. Are you satisfied with what you saw in week 1, or does it meet your standards heading into week 2?
The number one goal is to go 1-0, and I think that's the tricky thing here at Ohio State is you can't win championships, and it doesn't matter how you win. It's just a matter if you win. And, we can't – the best thing we can do is apologize for how we win. And like you said, to beat a Big Ten, team like Nebraska 52-17, it's a pretty impressive day just to beat them by 1. And so, sure, the expectations are high, but the reality of it is just to go 1-0 is a great day. And that was the number one goal. And, we're very proud of what we did today.
All righty, next up is Bill Rabinowitz from the Columbus Dispatch. Bill.
Yes, Ryan, in terms of the defense, was it just a matter of, hey, this is just completely different than a practice, and it just takes time to kind of get used to the speed of the game, what they're doing, or was it something more concerning to you?
No, I don't think so. If someone said to me, if you hold them to 17 points, would you take that? I would have signed them down the line. I thought very well done, job well done. Yeah, they hit a couple big plays on us and everything, but but overall, I thought they did a really good job. I'm proud of the way the guys played.
All right, we'll go next to Nathan Baird from Cleveland.com. Nathan.
Ryan, there was concern at some point how much Haskell would be able to play for you guys at all this season, certainly whether he'd be able to play this early. For him to be able not just to play, but have the impact he did, it seemed like he was a difference maker late in the first half. What did that mean to the team today?
Well, I think it was good to get him out there. The depth certainly is something that we've been, focused on. Make sure that we have, at least 2.5, 3 deep at each position, and so to have him there was a huge boost to the inside guys. I don't know how many plays he ended up getting in there for, but his experience and his ability really it was great to have him in there.
All right, next up, Bill Landis from The Athletic. Bill.
Hey, Ryan, I'm sure you don't expect maybe flawless execution when you have this kind of offseason and then it takes so long to get a game going. But to execute the way you guys did, where you kind of flipped the game there, scoring late in the first half, getting the ball back, scoring again in the second half, what did your guys show you when they did that?
Yeah, that was a great run right there when we really settled down on defense. And I think one of the things about it is we have such veteran guys at linebacker that when they can recognize what's going on and then adjust in game like they did, that's big. And so I thought we did that. The stop we got at the end of the first half, and then we get in the 2-minute drill, we score, we come back, score with the first drive of the second half, and then quickly get a fumble return on a defensive touchdown. That's one heck of a run right there. And that's the best way you could end a half and start a half. And I thought that flipped the game. But to your point, I thought there was a lot of hard work put into this game, talking about tackling and ball security and high level of execution. Penalties, you guys have heard me talk about, all my staying up late at night worried about all the things that, I've seen on TV. And I'm proud of our coaching staff. I think that, the leadership of this team really showed as well. And again, I think it's a really good start.
I will go next to Jared Smalley. Jared.
Ryan, wanted to ask you about the newcomers you had who got their first opportunity on the field today. you never know in a first game, right? You're never quite sure how a guy mentally is going to arrive and how they're going to take their practice efforts to the game field. Did anybody catch your eye particularly in what they were able to do out there for the first time?
No, I watched the film, but certainly Jackson made that big play in the back of the end zone, and then it was good to get Julian out there, get his feet wet. It was good to get Trey Sermon out there and get some carries. It's the first time he's been running the ball live in a long time. And then there was a bunch of guys at the end that were able to get in there and just kind of get going. But we'll look at the film and see where those guys can start to help us. It's hard because we don't have the non-conference games where typically you can get those guys more reps. But we were able to get them in a little bit, and now we got a huge task ahead of us. We got to go to Penn State on the road and win a night game, and so this is going to be a huge week in terms of preparation, and it starts in a few hours here.
Alrighty, next up, Doug Lamarice from Cleveland.com. Doug.
Ryan, in the opener a year ago, I remember JK was okay, but wasn't great out of the gate with the running game. And then we saw what he did the rest of the year. Just how did you think your tailbacks ran it here in the opener today?
Yeah, I remember that too against FAU. It was a little clunky, right? I remember that. It was just kind of nothing fit right. And, I think that happens sometimes when you're used to going against a certain front for months at a time and seeing the same looks and the same fronts. And, Nebraska brings a bunch of different stuff. And it was a little bit of a different fit. I thought we did fit some runs good there. That one drive in the goal line, we ran the ball pretty good in there. A couple of them didn't hit, like you're saying, the way that we want them to. But we did kind of, throw the ball a little bit more in this game. But we'll take a look at the film and see. I mean, I thought the offensive line still played really well. I thought they knocked people off the ball. And there were still some good runs in there, but we'll improve. We'll get better from this. And I think part of that is what you're saying, just a different look, different fit in the run game. And there's a lot of that going into this thing.
All right, next up, Brendan Gulick from Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated. Brendan.
Hey, Coach, Chris Olave had a pretty impressive game today when he was in there, but obviously left the game. Can you give us any kind of update on how he's doing?
He seemed good. He was in good spirits, had a good look in his eye, and that's all I really know at this point. So we'll kind of see what happens tomorrow morning.
All right, we'll go next to Tim May from Letterman Row. Tim.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ryan. Was there any thought in your mind of your team making a statement today of any sort, or was this just like you just said, get to 1-0 to move to 2-0? And then and follow up with that, what kind of feeling did you have in your gut as you walked out there today for the start?
It was a strange feeling. It was, I can't sit here and say it wasn't different. It was. It's, guys making huge plays, and I feel like looking around saying, anybody just see that? There'd be 107,000 people going crazy, and fireworks being shot off and everything else. So that was different, but it's the same for both teams. And so we just have to handle it better than our opponents. And that's really what the focus was. It wasn't about a statement or anything like that. I mean, certainly our guys were excited to play, but we were just trying to figure out a way to win the first game and not worry so much about all the expectations and, just focus on playing clean football. That's what it was all about.
Thanks, man.
All righty, next up, Dan Hope from 11 Warriors. Dan.
Hey, Ryan, there were a couple of targeting penalties and some other, high hits there in the second half. Did you think that was excessive at all on Nebraska's part?
Well, I know Scott, and I don't, and I know the guys on the defensive staff. I know that they would never teach that. And there's some tough spots in there. We certainly know and understand it from last year. Had our own share. When it's going fast and you're trying to make decisions on how to get a guy down, it's hard. And I'd be shocked if there was any malintent there. I think it was all just the speed of the game. When you slow it down, sometimes it looks a little crazy. But at the same time, we understand you got to protect the players, and that's part of this right now, which isn't easy at times. So again, no, I don't think that anything like that was going on.
All righty, go next to Adam Rittenberg from ESPN. Adam.
Ryan, I know you had high expectations for Justin coming into the season, but having watched him now, how good can he in your passing game be overall this year?
I don't know. We'll see. That's a good start, certainly. But it's everybody involved. It's the protection. It's the routes. It's all that stuff. There's just so much that goes into a passing game, and the timing and the spacing and the protection and execution. So, we'll see. We're going to, as we get into December, we're going to be playing against some, in some tough weather. It's going to get cold. It's going to get windy. It's going to get rainy, and, those type of things. So we're going to have to develop and really establish the run game in those games, which, I feel really confident we will with our offensive line and our running backs. So we're always looking for a balance, but it was great to see now, and, Justin into his second year looks so comfortable back there today.
All right, Coach Day, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Ohio State head coach wrapping up his press conference there. Justin, a very busy news day we have going on right now.
Big day. We obviously, looks like we've got Carrie Combs, defensive coordinator.
Oh.
Surprise.
Surprise. Let's listen to Carrie.
Obviously a slow start defensively. Was it just kind of first game stuff that happened, or was there something that concerned you, and what was it you guys did to adjust?
Well, I think there are things that are concerning. I wouldn't disagree with that. I do think it was a slow start. I think they're a good team. I think they're a good offense. And I think that anytime you're spending a summer trying to get ready for somebody and you don't know exactly what they're going to do, new coordinator, different things, it's challenging. And so I thought that Greg Madison and Larry Johnson did a great job making some adjustments and having great communication about how we were doing some things differently in the run game. And Al and Matt did a great job from both in the box and on the field of the same thing. And it was very difficult. A lot of things that probably we hadn't seen quite the same way that we had practiced against them and those kind of things. And then I think the kids, I'm so impressed with these kids. They don't panic. They take the adjustments, they understand, they learn, and they go out and put them in place. And so I thought they did a really, really good job after the first couple of series.
All righty, go next to Dan Hope from 11 Warriors. Dan.
Hey, Carrie, it seemed like the quarterback runs in particular gave you guys quite a bit of trouble today. Is there anything that you can pinpoint as, maybe why that was such an issue today?
I think that more of the structure of what we were doing and how we were doing things. I haven't watched the film, and I'd be disingenuous to tell you that, well, I got a perfect answer for that. I know that we will have an answer, but I don't think early on in the game we were handling it very well in the manner in which they were doing it. And so I think that we came in, particularly at halftime, and made a couple of adjustments that I thought were very effective in the second half. But those two kids are talented runners. And they did some really good things, and they read pressure and ran away from it in the middle of a play. I mean, they did some really good stuff as well. And that's an experienced offensive line. And I thought the two tight ends were effective in the blocking game for them as well.
All right, we'll go next to Austin Ward from Leonard Monroe. Austin.
Hey, Carrie, as much as I'm sure you were looking forward to being back in the horseshoe, I'm sure it felt very different for you. What was the atmosphere like for somebody who really seems to feed off of that?
Yeah, it was weird. I'm not going to tell you it wasn't weird. It was quiet. It's something that we're going to all have to get used to. A guy scoops and scores a fumble, and you know how that place would have been, right? It would have been absolutely bananas. And it's just different. And so we got to get used to that because that's the way it's going to be. And I think that we will. I think we'll handle it, but I'm not going to tell you it's as much fun. It's not. When that place is rocking now, that's where you want to be. And I missed that. I think our players missed it. There's nothing we can do about it, but let's don't kid ourselves either. That's a fun environment when the shoe's rocking. It's one of the best places in the world to coach a football game or watch a football game.
All right, got time for two more for Coach Combs. We'll start with Tom Orr from Buckeye Scoop. Tom.
Carrie, Haskell Garrett had that really big sack in the second quarter. What did it mean to you guys, both personally and also in terms of just the on-field impact, to have him back out there after all he's been through?
Tom, I'm sorry, but I'm just not – I need you to give me a little more clarity. I didn't get it.
Haskell had that big sack in the second quarter. What did it mean to you guys, both personally and in terms of on-field impact, to have him back out there?
Well, I hugged Haskell in the locker room after the game, and I said, this is a miracle. I mean, it's a miracle. This kid was shot in the face, and I don't know how many days ago it was, but it wasn't that long ago. And he just never gave up. He just kept coming in, and he would be meeting. My office is right across the hall from Larry Johnson's, and he's in there working with Larry, with the stitches and all that stuff, learning and preparing without being able to do anything physically. And for him to do that, and then to be able to play, and I'm not going to tell you how he played. I don't know that until I watch the tape, but I know having him on the field was a difference maker for the Buckeyes. And so, in every way, shape, and form, you can't undervalue the impact that has on his teammates and the defense in general. That experience that he went through, how he got back on the field in such a short period of time.
All right, we'll wrap up Coach Combs with Joey Kaufman from the Columbus Dispatch. Joey.
Carrie, what did you think of Marcus Hooker's start, and what kind of led him to start, and how did you think he did?
I thought Marcus played well. I will have to wait. It's always hard to make a judgment right after a game. I thought for as young as we are in the back end, I thought that there were some things that we did well. I don't think we did a great job necessarily of crack replacing in some of the run game areas, and be some things that we got to look at and figure out and get better at. But I think that overall, I thought for a group of young players, they played pretty well today. Sean Wade made a huge play today that will be undervalued or undernoticed because of the way he played. He didn't catch the ball, but on the one play, he was really spectacular. But I thought it was really good to see Hook play. Played a lot of guys in the back end, and I'm excited about him.
All right, Coach Combs, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it today.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
All right, Justin, round 4. Let's see if they bring anybody else out here for us. I'm still listening to the
all right, Wyatt Davis, thank you very much for joining us today.
Wyatt Davis.
We will open up the questioning for Wyatt with Brendan Gulick from Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated. Brendan.
Hey, Wyatt, it looked like in the first half there was a little bit of trouble running the football. How much of that would you guys attribute to maybe just being the first game of the year and playing against a different team that had a long time to scheme against you, as opposed to actually struggling to move the ball?
Yeah, no, definitely. It definitely had a lot to do with just, I think, everything. 10 months not having a game, and then we go into one, and there was so much confusion, us being away from the program. But, honestly, that's what comes with the first game. They were well coached. They had a great scheme for us. And, we just have to look at the film and just adjust moving forward. But, credits to them because they came out swinging. And, they got us for a little bit, but we responded and swung back.
All right, we'll go next to Clay Hall from WSYX. Clay.
Wyatt, curious what your take was on the atmosphere. Like when you make a big play, when Seven Banks gets the scoop and score, and it's pretty eerily quiet. I don't know. What was your take on not having that place going nuts?
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit weird, but you're so locked in. At least I am, and I know the rest of the offensive line, because we actually had talked about this after the game. It really we didn't really notice it just because, we already went into this knowing what it was going to be like. I think that those scrimmages that we had before, without there being any fans, really helped us for today, just to be prepared for the atmosphere. So I at least me personally, it didn't bother me at all.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go next to Stephen Means from Cleveland.com. Stephen.
Hey, Wyatt, just kind of more on the running game a little bit. Just do you feel like it kind of was similar to what it was last year against FAU in that first game, and how things kind of started out slow, but as the season went on, things started to pick up at all?
Yeah, no, definitely. We got a lot of young guys up front, with Harry and Nick, but I was really impressed today with, how they've came along in this program, and I really do believe that, once we get rolling, our running game will be back to and even better than what it was last year. I just think that we just got to knock off the rust and of not playing against, another team, and just really focus this week on film and what we did wrong and how we can get better, really focusing on the little things.
All right, got time for two more. First one to Austin Ward from Letterman Row. Austin.
Wyatt, when you go out there, were you thinking about how close you guys all might have been, and you specifically to missing this entirely?
Yes, definitely. That was the first thing that I was thinking about when I woke up this morning, was just like, wow, I can't believe that, a couple months ago that it really seemed like this wasn't going to happen. And I was just so grateful that I was able to get reinstated and that we're able to get the ball rolling with the Big Ten, and just really thankful for the opportunity and everyone behind it, with Coach Day, Coach Smith, and our president coming along and really vouching for us. So, it's definitely a blessing.
All right, and final question to Patrick Murphy from 247. Patrick.
Wyatt, you guys gave up 3 sacks. There were a couple other pressures on Justin. You talked about the run game, but what'd you think of pass protection in the first game today?
Definitely needs to be fixed moving forward, especially going against Penn State. They got us on some stunts up front with some blitzes. And, we got to look back at the film. It's not acceptable. And we're going to fix it because, moving down the line, if we want to do what we want to do, we can't afford to give up sacks like that against blitzes and just sacks, period. So we're going to move on from this and take it and keep that burning desire to get better this week, and have a intent focus on truly sharpening our technique and just being aware of what the defense is going to bring. I think a lot of it was just because it was just we're going into this game not really having that much film. All we could really look at was the stuff from last year. So they brought some new stuff this year, and they got us. And we'll look at it and we'll fix it for next week.
All right, Wyatt, thank you very much for your time. Congratulations on the win today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, and that's going to wrap it up, guys. Thank you.
Here with the post-game press conference. Let me end record on this and leave it so we can not make the Ohio State people mad. All right, Justin. Lots of stuff happening, and we have a lot of shows. 6, 7, Pepsi Sports Saturday at 7:30. What can we expect from those shows?
Basically everything. We're going to have a full breakdown of Buckeyes. We're going to focus on how Ohio State played in that first game. I'm going to talk about the defense. Obviously, bad start in the first half, great start in the second half. Jared Smalley going to have a full report on how this game went for the Buckeyes, how well Justin Fields played, maybe how to address the running issue that they had. Maybe not an issue, but something to improve before the Penn State game next week.
Certainly not as powerful as we were used to.
No, not as powerful as we're used to. And, just kind of tackling everything that you need to know and what Ohio State needs to do better going into that game against Penn State.
One last thing before we go, got to point out that Rutgers won against Michigan State, and we see them next time we're at home. Ohio State does.
Yeah, week 3.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for being with us all day long. It was exciting. It was nice to be back in the saddle here, and we will see you all next week. Bye.